Hello everyone, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. It is an exciting mail day today that I want to show you guys certain items that I got back either from limited run games or back from WATA games that were just graded, okay? I think you're really going to like this item because I was actually one of the first to the punch to reach out to them to see if they would grade this. Overall, I'm very pleased at the job they did. Before I get to that, just a couple of announcements. Number one, if you're watching this video and you see me with my hair unstyled or down and just a regular t-shirt on, it generally means the video was filmed after 12 midnight to 5 a.m., somewhere in that time frame. I'm one of the strange people out there that only need to sleep 4 to 5 hours a night. So needless to say, I get a lot of work done, whether it be paperwork, surfing eBay, what have you. Okay, I just have more hours in the day as a result of that. I don't get tired. In fact, if I would sleep a full 8 hours, my body probably wouldn't be able to handle it. It would be an interesting experiment. One time I should try to see if I could even stay asleep for 8 hours at a time. That said, if you see me with my hair styled and a collared shirt on where I look like more business casual, that means the video is being filmed sometime before 9 p.m. either in the late evening or in the day at some point. Just want to put that out there. Okay, before we get to the good stuff, I do want to talk, as I did get an item from Limited Run Games. And again, please watch my other video. Do not speculate on these items. I was a little bit upset because they started raising the price on a lot of their releases. I think this one was $49.99, okay? That said, it is Battle Garega. I know you can download this for, I think, the PlayStation 4, and I want to say, is it Xbox One as well? I think this is available for. This is based off a very elusive Sega Saturn import game, okay, that sells for like $200 in the secondary market. It is a great shooter, and I love shooters, so I didn't mind paying the price. Honestly, though, and you guys are probably going to criticize me, I only bought one copy, so I'm probably going to keep this one sealed and just download the copy to play. I hate to say it, okay? That said, it was not bought for investment purposes. Please do not speculate in this stuff, okay? You can probably download this. I forget what the price is that I saw online. I think it's like 20 bucks, 15 bucks maybe to download it, okay? But if you want the physical copy, Limited Run did do a good job on this. I mean, the packaging looks incredible. I'll just show you both sides, okay? And it is, I love all the shooters, okay? I'm gonna do another video on import games coming up, on vintage import games and current release import games. And you're gonna see that I have a fascination with a lot of the like 16-bit, 32-bit shooters like Blast Wind, Radiant Silvergun, all that stuff I love. My favorite shooter, just before we get to the WATA games that I want to talk about in this video, Blazing Lasers and Soldier Blade on the TurboGrafx 16, along with Gate and Thunder and Lords of Thunder, are my 4 great favorite shooters ever released. Just want to put that out there. Okay, now I'm going to get into this, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. First, I got to set the scene. Do you remember back in 2011, 2012, those of you that are into vintage Nintendo and reproduction games, a company called TimeWalk Games. TimeWalk Games, and I did buy a lot of their releases. This is just the first one that I sent in to get graded, okay? They created some of the most beautiful renditions of either like fan-based games or reproduction games or games that were only released in Japan that never had a North American version come out over here. So 2 of my favorite games for the original Nintendo that they did, one was Splatterhouse, and they did actually convert it to the North American market and released a version of that over here through TimeWalk Games. The second one was called Sweet Home. Sweet Home is actually a spiritual successor or prequel to the Resident Evil series. It really has nothing to do with the franchise. It was just Capcom's first foray into making a 8-bit action-adventure game with horror-themed elements. Well, it was only released in Japan, sadly, much like Splatterhouse. Well, TimeWalk Games actually released it. They actually converted all the language, reprogrammed it, and released it for the North American market in their series of games that they produced. Now before, if you're wondering what happened to TimeWalk Games, they were only in business for a couple of years. It's speculated, and I have to say this is speculation because I don't know this to be true. I know on the internet there's a lot of talk about this, but I think what happened to TimeWalk Games is they got nailed for either copyright or trademark infringement, because when I show you this game, it is beautiful. Okay, it's a work of art. And I think what happened was, again, I don't know, they were forced to either close up shop or face possible legal consequences from the likes of Capcom, Nintendo, other companies that hold the rights to a lot of these vintage and current properties. Okay? So without further ado, I reached out to WATA Games a couple of months back, and I asked them a simple question. Would you grade a factory sealed copy of a TimeWalk release? And they said, well, we don't see why not. We list home brews and reproductions on our website. So they gave me all the information, added the game to their catalog, and I sent them a copy of Sweet Home for the Nintendo that was a reproduction made by TimeWalk Games. Now, some of you guys don't collect reproductions, okay? I'll be very honest. For reproductions for the Atari, ColecoVision, Intellivision, I really don't collect that stuff because I think there was, at least at one time, I haven't followed that market on reproduction stuff for those systems for a while, but there was a speculative bubble opening up in that market where people were going out buying, like, trying to pre-order 20 copies of the latest reproduction game so that they can hold for a couple of months, if not years, and then flip them back on the market for double the price. It's just like what people are trying to do with limited run games, which isn't going to work long term. Just putting that out there. Okay? If you want to buy a limited run game, buy it because you like the product, you like the game, and you want to support a company like Limited Run. Don't buy it because you think you're going to flip this $50 game for $100 a year or two down the line. That could happen. But I'm going to tell you this right now, and I just touched on this in my other video on limited run games. How many different games are you going to buy and how many different copies to turn one profit when your aggregate average of all the games you bought is probably going to be at a loss because you're not going to know what games are going to accrue in value and which ones aren't going to go anywhere. For instance, I'm a huge fan of the Dragon's Lair trilogy. I bought it for the PS4. Then they released the Nintendo Switch version. It's like, do I really want to buy the same game again because they released it on a different console? No. You see my point? Okay, back to the main topic of this video. So, TimeWalk Games created some of the best reproduction games you probably will ever witness in your life. If I would open this, the cartridge would be blood red. The manual would look like a vintage Capcom Nintendo game manual should. They are that good at creating this stuff. So I was lucky and I bought a lot of their releases. Basically, I think I bought some on the secondary market. I was able to get some orders in before they closed their offices. As a matter of fact, this is one of the last releases that they created because I was on the list when they announced the closing. I had my order already in, so I got a couple of their releases, okay? This came back a 9.4 from WATA. This is near mint. This would be the equivalent, comparing it to VGA again, of an 85 plus in VGA terms, okay? Just putting it out there. And for those of you that aren't aware, the $100,000 plus Super Mario Brothers rare stickered sealed game that sold was also originally graded by VGA at an 85. It was then sent to WATA Games, who graded it 9.4. I didn't put that fact in my video on that particular topic. I wish I would have, because it would explain some of the comments and people who kind of are biased towards one company and the other. I prefer both because they both serve different markets. As I said in my VGA versus WATA grading scale video, I'm not going to go through that again. But just understand that WATA Games and VGA tend to operate, there is a cross-market, dynamic with both companies, but ultimately they're in two different markets. For instance, you can't send a Wii U like this to WATA Games and get it graded because they make prefabricated cases, okay? If you look at this, on the back of this it says unopened box, original box protector, and shrink wrap removed. But it does say this is a sealed version. So why is that? To fit it in the case, they actually had to remove this from the original shrink wrap and the box protector to be able to grade it and fit it in this case. I just want to put that out there. So if you're going to send any TimeWalk games to WATA, just know they're most likely going to have to remove the box protector that they came in originally and the shrink wrap on top to get it graded. That may turn some of you off because I will tell you, I have a ton of these. I don't want to say a ton, but I have a lot of their releases still factory sealed sitting upstairs, okay? I got offered, I have another one of these that is factory sealed. I got offered $600 just for that game alone, and I turned it down. Now, a lot of you are going to ask me what I would sell this for, or what I would value this at. As of right now, given the fact that there's really not too many of these out there to compare this to, I would honestly want to sell this for either $1,200 to $1,500. And I know some of you are going to balk at the price. It's not for sale, by the way. Just want to put that out there. I'm just saying, if I had to value it, that's what I would value this at. Now, to be fair, if 100 collectors are sitting out there with this game in their collection from TimeWalk, and it's in this good of condition, meaning near mint, solid near mint, 9.4, and they send it to WATA Games, and all of a sudden 100 of these start showing up on the market, yeah, it's just like any other graded collectible that has a population census that you can look at online. Whether it be a CGC graded comic book, a VGA game, an AFA graded toy, a coin by PCGS or NGC, or a piece of currency, okay? It's going to affect the market because now there's more coming into the market, and it's not just one of a kind or two of a kind or how many are out there, okay? So I would caution people, before you spend a lot of money on games like this, whether you buy it through me, whether you buy it through Heritage Auctions, whether you go on eBay and buy it yourself, just know if more of these get graded and put out into the market, the price of this is going to tank a little bit, okay? It's going to drop. It's no different for those of you that collect comic books. I'm very familiar with the comic book market. When CGC first came on the scene back in, I want to say 2001, 2002, there was a little bit of a speculative bubble for a lot of 15-cent and 20-cent Marvel and DC horror comics that really had no, how do I want to say this, historic moniker in the hobby. And what I mean by that is titles like Chamber of Darkness #1, Tower of Shadows 1, that came out in the late 1960s, early 70s. What was the other one? Vault of Evil, Dead of Night. A lot of those comic books, because nobody was really sending them to be graded, if you had them in 9.4 or 9.6 or even 9.2 condition, you would see them sell for a premium on like eBay and other comic-related auction sites. Well, the reason for that is people weren't really sending those more obscure horror-themed comics in to get graded. By 2006, 2007, 2008, when the comic speculative bubble hit for graded comic books, everybody was sending everything they could that was a first issue or a semi-key comic book issue in to get graded. So a lot of the prices for the more obscure horror and even superhero, more obscure superhero titles, fell substantially over the years. For those that aren't unaware, if you don't read my articles in Antiques and Auction Web, back in 2015, I sold 30 high-grade keys, CGC graded comic book keys, from the Silver Age and Bronze Age era, and I sold those 30 books. They were in 9.2 to 9.8 condition. I got $84,000 for the collection on Heritage Auctions, okay? So I just want to put that out there, okay? I do not actively buy comic books. I know this is a little bit off topic. I'll do another video on this. I do not actively buy CGC graded comic books or any type of comic book unless if I'm buying it like at a flea market, somebody comes to me with a good deal that I know I can flip it. Okay, reason being is there was a massive speculative bubble that opened up in the vintage comic book market, and I warn a lot of people from putting serious amounts of money in those particular issues. If you're gonna buy or if you're gonna invest, I hate to say it, go after high-grade pre-1965 issues, and that's the stuff that has accelerated extreme amounts. That said, I do think a lot of that stuff is overvalued. A lot of it is due for a fall. I don't see that happening though for about 5 or 10 years yet. There may be some issues that are cooling off and falling. I could do another video on that. Getting back to this, I really like the TimeWalk releases. I wanted to show you guys this. Please, if you have any TimeWalk releases, if you remember their games, please post in the comments. I would love to hear your stories. I'm a huge fan of when somebody takes the reins, and even though this was a gray area, I mean, they kind of violated trademarks and copyrights if you want to go down that road. At the same token, they made a great quality product that I'm very impressed with. So TimeWalk Games will always have a place in my heart, not only as a vintage gamer, but also as someone who appreciates art and the beauty that they created. So if there is anybody, this video gets to you and you were part of TimeWalk Games, I just want to say your work, your credibility has never been forgotten in my mind, and I just want to put that out there. Okay? Thanks, guys, and enjoy your day.